York join the hunt. I hope you will too. Until then, I'm John Scott in New York. Have a great night and a safe one. We'll see you tomorrow.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Why hasn't the CIA been able to track down bin Laden, and why hasn't the FBI rounded up some anthrax suspects? We'll put those questions to some intelligence experts. More chaos at the airline security checkpoints. Some Arab Americans are mad because a woman was made to take off her head covering, and they want to strip search a congressman. Can you believe it? Also, is it wrong to glorify Muhammad Ali? Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. The Factor begins in 90 seconds.
I'm Carol Iavana. Two of the 9/11 hijackers may have slipped through the hands of law enforcement. A hijacker on the flight that crashed into the Pentagon was stopped for speeding in Virginia last August. And also, another man was pulled over and then let go by Maryland police just 2 days before September 11th. Maryland state troopers released video today of the man that they stopped for speeding. He turned out to be a hijacker on the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. The Washington Post reports that just days after U.S. airstrikes began in Afghanistan, a senior Taliban official withdrew $5 million in U.S. dollars and Pakistani rupees from an Afghani bank. Another Taliban official also took an additional $6 million. Bank officials say millions more are presumed missing. A dramatic rescue by firefighters in Southern California tonight. At least 20 people were evacuated by aerial ladders after a fire broke out at a medical building. The people suffered smoke inhalation. The fire is being investigated as suspicious. Ozzie Smith, the man regarded as the best fielding shortstop in baseball history, was elected to the Hall of Fame today. Smith spent most of his 19-year career with the St. Louis Cardinals. The O'Reilly Factor is coming your way next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. Well, later on this week, I have to fly to the West Coast, and I really dread it, as more and more airport horror stories are floating in, and that's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. If you have little kids, you know how painful it is to fly these days. Long lines at check-in, longer lines at security, tiny seats, frequent delays on the runways, the list goes on and on. But the only good thing is that airfares have collapsed, and you can get there cheap. The security situation isn't getting any better, and that's because poor judgment is the order of the day. Security guards working for Northwest Airlines, for example, at Reagan Airport in Washington, wanted to strip search 75-year-old Congressman John Dingell because a surgically placed pin in his hip set off an alarm. Even after the congressman identified himself and explained the situation, the security guards made him take off his shoes and socks. Those guards should have been fired on the spot. Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta says he'll look into the matter. Yeah, sure, and I'm Harry Potter. Stupidity reigns at the nation's airports, and the reason is that everybody's scared some nut will get on a plane. But a congressman should not be humiliated because some screener is a dunce. Likewise with this Arab American Secret Serviceman who was thrown off an American Airlines flight by a suspicious pilot. What should have happened here is that American Airlines should have called the airport police and given them the agent's badge number, which he provided. Within minutes, the police could have confirmed the agent's identity. Problem solved. But that's the problem. There aren't any problem solvers, or very few, working at America's airports. We have overworked and harried ticket agents and frightened, poorly educated security screeners. Since we, the taxpayers, are giving the airlines billions of free dollars, we have a right to demand better performance. The Bush administration made a colossal mistake by not tying the bailout money to better performance. Enough's enough with this. Dumb and arrogant displays at the terminals. The feds have a responsibility to see that Americans are treated decently at the airports, which we pay for. Hey, Secretary Mineta, better get in gear. You need to get control of this situation. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight. Another federal agency under fire, the CIA. It just can't seem to locate the world's two most wanted men, Osama bin Laden and Mullah Omar. Joining us now from Washington is former CIA officer and current Fox News analyst Larry Johnson. Should the CIA and the NSA, the National Security Agency, be embarrassed because after all this time we have no clue where bin Laden is?
not necessarily embarrassed for not being able to give a definitive answer for where he is, because he could have disappeared in a puff of pink smoke. What they should be embarrassed about is the fact that what the CIA knows or doesn't know is being played with on the front pages, Washington Post, Washington Times, New York Times. This has got to stop. This is supposed to be a clandestine, covert agency, not out there doing, propaganda for, hey, look at us, what we're doing or not doing.
Yeah, but it's a PR war the Bush administration is fighting. They're saying we're doing very well in the military aspect of the war, which is true. But most people, including me, say, well, okay, that's great, and we're glad you got the Taliban out of there, but where's bin Laden? So they almost have to say something, do they not?
No, that's where the two words, no comment. CIA is supposed to be clandestine, out of the limelight. There are plenty of other agencies that you can shove forward, give them the spotlight, FBI, DEA, Green Beret, there's a whole list. And I grant you, part of war is PR, but part of war is also having intelligence where you're not tipping the bad guys what you're doing and not doing. I frankly cannot believe what I've been seeing on both television and reading in the newspaper time after time.
Well, give me an example of something that you feel endangers national security.
For example, tipping them that we've got these drones that are flying overhead and they can see your license plate. That's reported within 24, 48 hours of doing it. Heavens, let's just provide a complete list, let's give them a cable hookup to any of the cable news shows, and they'll be able to find out what.
So you don't think military hardware should be described to the American people?
Describing military hardware in generic terms is fine. Telling what it's doing operationally in theater when it's in the hands of an intelligence organization, for me, is just tipping the bad guys your hand. You're showing them your cards.
All right.
Don't show your card. I don't play poker that way. I don't think you do either.
Well, look, all I want is results. And after all of this time, we're going now into 4 months of hunting for this guy, bin Laden. And we don't know where he is. He could be on a Caribbean cruise, as I said yesterday, and we have no idea where he is. And I'm saying to myself, we spend more money than anyone else on earth in our intelligence agencies. We have the capabilities to monitor telephone conversations anywhere in the world with the National Security Agency. We've got $25 million on the guy's head,
Sure.
and we don't know anything. It seems there's something wrong here, Mr. Johnson.
Bill, you're right. There is something wrong, but what's wrong is some years of neglect. What was done to the CIA under John Deutsch is criminal. And what has happened is you've taken an organization that was once willing to take risks. They are now risk averse. I just spoke with a case officer who left the agency a few months back. They had been in the Marine Corps before this. They said in the Marine Corps they were told, if you screw up, we're behind you, we'll protect you. And this person told me they were told specifically by supervisors, at least 2, that if you screw up, you're on your own. What that creates is a culture of folks who hunker down, will not take risks, and you don't correct that overnight. That's not a 3-month
Let's
fix.
walk through this. John Deutsch was the CIA director under President Clinton.
Correct.
There was apparently some kind of attitude, I think that's the best word, within the Clinton administration toward the Central Intelligence Agency. Can you describe the attitude?
You're being very polite. Bill Clinton would not sit down with the daily briefing with the CIA. They were not his #1 go-to folks on intelligence. And then you had that disaster, which you've covered on your show, where a Harvard graduate, Jennifer Harberry, married a Guatemalan guerrilla leader. He was killed by the Guatemalan military. CIA knew the fact that he had been killed by the Guatemalan military, but didn't give him up because they were protecting a source. And all of a sudden, you start beating up the CIA because you don't come out and pretend to be Human Rights Watch. At the end of the day, Senator Torricelli gets into the mix.
How bad was that Torricelli principle?
Very bad. No, I saw what he did on your show, and he does not understand the damage that he did. Because I've talked to friends of mine who are case officers, who are senior officers overseas. What that did to the agency was it shut down operations. People were not going to take risks because nobody wants to get hauled into court. Nobody wants to have to employ a lawyer.
Or get transferred to Siberia, which, what happens.
Right.
In it. All right, look. And we must just say real quickly, the Torricelli principle was President Clinton signed off on an order that no CIA station chiefs were to pay anybody with human rights violations or felony convictions, so it just dried up. All right, I agree with you 100% on that. It was terrible. But now we have a new CIA director, Tenet, okay? But we're still not seeing a lot of results, in my opinion.
No, well, you're right. And part of the problem is George Tenet's a good politician. He plays the Washington game very well, but he's not an operator. He needs to get out of his cheerleader uniform, get back into a trench coat, spending too much time leaking information to the press, trying to smooth out CIA's image in town, and at the same time, they're compressing training. They're putting people out in the field that have no business being in the field yet, and they're not giving them the kind of supervision that they needed. The CIA officer, Johnny Michael Spann, who died, was a case in point. Brave young man, did what he was told, but he did not get the kind of supervision and support. And then to make it matters even worse, Tenet publicizes the name of his wife, where he lived. It was obscene.
All right, so this guy Spann didn't have enough experience, in your opinion?
No, I know he didn't. I've talked to people who knew him.
All right. Mr. Johnson, any hope that we're going to get this bin Laden, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah. No, Bill, we've got to be patient. It took us a couple of years to track down Pablo Escobar. You know, it may take a couple of years to get this guy. The good news is, you've seen his video. He looks lousy. He's on the run. His money's drying up. There's some good news on that front. So I think just patience will pay off.
All right, Mr. Johnson, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
And next, we'll take you inside the FBI. No anthrax arrests yet, and a bunch of people in custody who could be innocent. What's going on with the Bureau? Right back.
Why do 63% of Americans think financial institutions aren't interested in helping them? Maybe because they aren't. With H&R Block Financial Advisors, now everyone can have access to smart financial advice. You get investments, financial services, and retirement planning, all on your terms.
If this is what you sometimes call breakfast, remember one thing. You are what you eat. So next time, try something good. Nutri-Grain. With whole grain oats, real fruit, and calcium. Nutri-Grain. Respect yourself in the morning.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
In the Unresolved Problem segment tonight, continuing questions about the FBI and its efficiency. No anthrax suspects, no warning about 9/11, the botched Wen-Ho Lee case, and the embarrassment of Agent Robert Hansen spying for the Russians for 16 years before being caught. Joining us now from Washington is former FBI agent Gary Aldrich, who is now the president of the Patrick Henry Center, a nonprofit foundation that represents federal whistleblowers. Well, those of you who are familiar with your writings, Mr. Aldrich, we know that you don't like President Clinton and you feel that he compromised the FBI. But my question is, that agency was once thought to be the best in the world. Is it now, and can it ever be again?
Well, I think it is now because it's operating at full steam on a mission that's clearly understandable to all the agents and management, especially the management at FBI headquarters. And this is the time when they'll really shine.
Well, they haven't, though. We don't know. The anthrax situation remains unsolved. You've got a whole bunch of people in custody, only one charged, Moussaoui, which, you know, that fell right in their lap because of the very alert Minneapolis flight instructor called the FBI. The FBI had no clue about 9/11 before it happened. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in the agency right now.
Well, I think that their resources now are directed in the proper areas. And recall that prior to 9/11, we still had the attitudes installed at the Department of Justice and FBI, left over from the Clinton administration, and the agency had been directed since 1994 to look inward at homegrown terrorists, as they were called, or domestic terrorism. And many of the FBI supervisors, management agents, were directed to look at the so-called domestic terrorists. We had done an adequate job in the past looking out for the Ku Klux Klanners and the rest, and we were doing a good job before 1994. But the agency's resources were directed, in my view, misdirected towards the so-called domestic terrorists.
Yeah, but that makes sense because you got McVeigh and the and Nichols bombing the Oklahoma City Federal Building. You got, hey, that was a shocker.
Well, but also you had Ted Kaczynski. Should we have taken the resources
but it was a different
of the
case,
FBI?
That was a lone nut. And that was a lone nut, whereas Nichols and I still think to this day that McVeigh and Nichols had foreign help, that they were in touch with al-Qaeda. I believe that from the information that I've seen, and the Philippine conduit where Nichols was. I mean, come on. And the FBI hasn't developed anything. They haven't developed anything along those lines.
But that may be true, but that makes my case that if McVeigh and Nichols was engaged in foreign terrorism, that's quite a different
But what
matter.
I'm saying, Agent Aldrich, is that the FBI doesn't seem to be able to do anything. What about Wen Ho Lee? Wasn't that an embarrassment?
We've had some terrible, terrible missteps in the agency, and I was one of the first ones to say so when I surfaced after working 2.5 years in the Clinton White House. I tried to make that case then, and we were pointing to management problems in the Bureau then.
All right, let me stop you there. Management problems in the Bureau. Right. Is that Louis Freeh? Was he incompetent?
Well, I didn't care for Director Freeh at all, and I've said so many, many times that no. Director Freeh inherited an agency with a stale management system. Most of the agents that worked for the agency when I did complained constantly about the management. And to my knowledge,
what were the specific complaints? What did the agents in the field not like about Washington management of the FBI?
Well, we feel that too many of the managers came to FBI headquarters and made a home there, and the mission began to be careerism and cover your rear-endism and not the mission of the agency. And many of us complained about that, and our complaints fell on deaf ears. And those of us who tried to blow the whistle on some of these management missteps were treated as whistleblowers and were punished.
Well, that's been the historic case of the FBI since J. Edgar Hoover. You know, you complain within and you get shipped out to Bismarck, North Dakota. You know that. It's always been that way. But it just seems to me that under Louis Freeh, who I agree with you, was a terrible director. He was awful. Because it was just one thing after another, one botch after another, and no big cases. Can you, in the past 10 years, Mr. Aldrich, can you give me one big FBI success? One?
Well, I'm afraid I didn't come here prepared tonight to talk about FBI successes. As you know, I was quite disappointed.
Nothing sticks out in your mind, does it?
Well, I was quite disappointed with the performance of the FBI relative to the Clinton administration, where so much damage was done.
Right. I mean, Reno would just stonewall everything, and Freeh would say nothing, and the American people, you know, with this campaign finance stuff and the Red Chinese funneling money to the DNC, we're never going to get to the bottom of that, and we're never going to get to the bottom of the Mark Rich pardon, are we?
No, I'm afraid not. I don't see anything out of this administration that suggests they want to look backward. No,
they don't.
And yet, how do you ignore colossal abuse of a law enforcement agency where a White House was attempting to turn the FBI into its political police force? I just don't understand.
Oh, but that was a mistake, Mr. Aldrich. That was a mistake. They didn't mean to do that. Those files just came over to Hillary Clinton out of nowhere. She never asked for them. You know that. That's what Janet Reno told the country.
Well, the new president and the Attorney General have an excellent opportunity to refashion the FBI. I understand they have some professional help over there looking at the management problems. I hope they come up with some good recommendations.
Yeah, if you had a bet on it, would you think that they're going to look back at all those abuses during the Clinton administration?
I think they'll get a partial fix, and this is what we normally get in the bureaucracy back here in Washington because it's far too large.
Right, a partial fix, huh? I'm going to say we get 0 out of John Ashcroft. He's not going to do anything. That Mark Rich pardon, forget it. You know, Torricelli walked because they didn't think they can get a conviction. All right, Mr. Aldrich, thanks very much for your expertise. We appreciate it. And when the factor comes back, some Arab Americans upset they're being profiled at airport security sites. Also on the rundown this evening, is Muhammad Ali a great man or a myth? Right back.
You can slow down investing. You can stop investing entirely. But you can't stop daughters from falling in love.
Hi, Daddy.
Which is why your Morgan Stanley financial advisor will never let you lose sight of what you're investing for.
At Cheap Tickets, you save money every time you fly. But that's not all. Because at Cheap Tickets, you can choose your airline, choose your schedule, and choose your discount fare. With Cheap Tickets, you can get up to 40% off on airfares right now. Call or log on now, because today's prices may not be available tomorrow. Call 1-888-OK-CHEAP or log on to cheaptickets.com. Cheap Tickets. The choice is yours.
I'm Lace Hansen. If you've been in an accident, you know what a hassle it is. That's where we come in. With Lace, everything becomes very simple. From Salem to Longview, we make house calls. We'll give you an estimate, pick up your car, negotiate your claim, repair your vehicle back to pre-loss condition, and get it back to you, all without costing you extra. You've got my word on it.
Lace Auto Collision Centers, the finest in collision repair.
When was the last time you looked forward to a business trip? Come stay and save at Shiloh Inn, affordable excellence. When was the last time you and your family had a clean, comfortable hotel room and sincere, friendly service, all at an affordable price? Shiloh Inn's affordable excellence. And kids stay free.
In the personal story segment tonight, we told you in the Talking Points memo that some security screeners at the airports are using very poor judgment, to say the least. Now comes a case from the Baltimore-Washington airport where Northwest Airlines screener forced a 17-year-old Muslim high school student to remove her head covering. Joining us now from Washington is Ibrahim Hooper, the communications director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. All right, so this high school student was wearing a head covering, which in the Muslim religion is a sign of modesty. And these guys wanted to see what was underneath it, right?
Yeah, the point isn't so much that they asked her to remove it. If they had taken her to a private area and asked, a female guard had been there and asked her to check out the headscarf or whatever, that wouldn't have been a problem. The problem was a 17-year-old high school student being surrounded by soldiers in camouflage uniforms with M16s and being forced to remove what we consider to be a religiously mandated headscarf.
Did anything go off when she walked through the security? The alarm go off or anything like that?
No, she was actually through the gate, through the metal detector, and her bag was through screening, and it was at that point that the guard said, you've got to take that off.
You got to take off the headscarf. Now, I'm kind of on your side on this one, although I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the screeners in the sense that obviously they're going to look at Middle Eastern people, they're going to scrutinize Middle Eastern people more than they do Anglo-Saxons. Is that wrong, inherently wrong in your opinion?
Well, I think we all agree that there should be heightened security for airline travelers, but the security should be heightened for everyone, not just people based on their race, religion.
But it is heightened for everyone. We're all standing in lines, and we're all being inconvenienced here. But come on.
And we'd like to see things like baggage matching across the board, but that's the kind of thing that's difficult to do, so they resist doing it. It's very easy to profile someone and create a false sense of security that you're actually doing something.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to justify. And look, we talked about Dingell, the congressman, 75 years old, hip replacement, identifies himself as a congressman. They still make him take off his shoes and socks.
But notice they took him to a private area, as they should.
Well, I mean, that's just stupid. If I were Congressman Dingell, trust me, I'd take reprisal. So they wouldn't even take this girl to a private area where she could take off her, and they just made her do it. All right. What are you going to do about it?
Well, we've obviously asked for an apology from BWI and from the airlines involved and the security people involved, and I hope that'll be the end of it, and maybe it'll
but this happened in the middle of December. Haven't you got an apology yet? No, we just found out about it, surprisingly, after the Secret Service agent was profiled. This sister came forward to tell us about that incident. Okay, so you just got the word on this. Yeah. Now, the Secret Service, that's an interesting case, because as I said again in the T-Points memo, all they had to do was take the guy's badge number, American Airlines now, call the airport police, and say, check it on a computer, boom, 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 and they know. And they actually were cleared. He actually was cleared by the airport police, but that wasn't enough for the pilot. Well, now, that's not what American Airlines said. Are you positive they were clear? He was cleared by the airport police? No, what they did, they called the airport police. They came and they said, you know, all this stuff looks in order to me. Yeah, but they didn't run the check, see? They could have run the electronic check, come back with the picture. They had opportunity to do it. They did, and that's what should have happened. The airport police could have just looked at... Look, the guy could have had a phony Secret Service ID. I mean, that's not unheard of. And he's carrying a gun. Hundreds of armed personnel who travel on planes every day could have now, we're dealing with this guy. Let's stay here, Mr. Hooper. You got a guy. He's got a Secret Service ID and a gun. He's on your plane. And he's an Arab. He's an Arab American. Now, I'm the pilot here, and I'm saying to myself, well, I really want to make real sure about this. So what I don't understand is why they didn't just go through the police, do a formal check, which they didn't. And that's why this thing is all going crazy. Yeah, it's snowballed to a point where I don't think anybody benefits. No, I mean, the President of the United States is involved now, saying, you know, if it was just... But my point is that there doesn't seem to be any common sense being used at the airport security measures. I'll give you the last word. Well, I think it's because people don't have the training, they don't have the sensitivity training, they don't have the security training. They're scared. That's what it is. I mean, they're low-paid, they're people who aren't up to the job, really, that's necessary after 9/11. We need to bring in people who have top-level training and deal with the situation. All right, Mr. Hooper, thanks very much as always. We appreciate it. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Muhammad Ali, hero or fraud? We'll have a debate on that. And abused women violating court orders and returning to their violent husbands. What should happen to them? You have to stay tuned.
What's the matter, Bob? All this paperwork from my mortgage broker is driving me crazy.
Perhaps you should log on to Ditech.com.
Hey, I need a home loan, not a website.
Ditech.com is one of the largest direct lenders in the mortgage industry.
What about the rates?
Here's today's low fixed rate with 0 points.
Oh.
Can I use the mouse? Be my guest. Ditech.com, the smart money solution. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
Camry. Trust us, you're going to want one.
Gary, oh boy, I just feel dizzy.
So tell me what's going on.
Tired, Gary. I've got to sit down.
Okay, just keep talking to me.
It feels like I can't breathe.
Your medication shouldn't cause that.
You don't think I'm having a heart attack, do you?
Someone call 911, please.
Hurt.
We're getting help. Don't worry.
If it were just about filling prescriptions, any drugstore would do. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
People say our show is warmer. It means we're real people, and it shows.
We talk to you, we talk with you. It's a conversation. It's not a lecture.
It's the smart way to start your day.
We take the news seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
The show is warmer, younger, and smarter, and I think that people get that sense when they watch. I'm Edie Donahue. Tomorrow on Fox & Friends, we've trounced the Taliban, but the mission continues. Where does America go from here? Is Iraq next? Oliver North joins us 6 a.m.
In the Unresolved Problem segment tonight, who's at fault for the Enron debacle? I say the Justice Department must investigate Enron executives who made millions while mismanaging the company into bankruptcy, and the little guy got hosed. But Fox News financial reporter Terry Keenan believes individual stockholders are at fault as well. Terry, who hosts the weekend business program Cash In, joins us now. This is personal to me because I had Enron stock. And the reason I bought it was because I'd buy a tout sheet by a guy named McIntyre up in Massachusetts. Pretty good reputation. Guy's a pretty good track record. He's telling me Enron's a good buy. I buy it. And how am I supposed to know what these criminals are doing behind the scenes of this company?
Well, if there was fraud involved, and there probably was, that still doesn't negate the fact that this stock was extremely overvalued. There wasn't a lot of good reporting on it. A lot of people didn't even know what the company did. And the first rule of investing is don't buy things that you don't know about, and certainly don't
I knew about it, and I looked at the chart, and this time last year, all the big brokerage houses, Merrill Lynch, Payne Weber, all of these people had buys.
And you probably looked at the chart, and the stock was trading at $80 or $90, and like a lot of people,
well, I had a big
wow,
PE.
This is a great company.
But it was in a good industry, and McIntyre is telling me it's a good stock. All the brokerage houses are saying it's good. All the CNBC people are saying, hey, it's great. So how do I know?
Well, the second rule of investing is don't listen to those Wall Street analysts because they're paid to tout stocks.
All right. Well, wait a minute. Who am I supposed to listen to? I can't get the records from this Enron company.
Well, you can. The SEC, they're filed public records every quarter.
What do I go down to Washington and look up Enron?
There's a website, free Edgar. Doesn't even cost you a cent. You can go on there. You can see all the records. And probably what you'd find is there were a lot of footnotes and a lot of unexplained questions in this company.
Wait,
like
you're telling me as an investor I should go to the SEC website and look up Enron. What am I going to find there?
You're going to find all of their public documents, and you're going to find a lot of footnotes that are going to raise a lot of questions about why the stock was trading at 50 times earnings when its counterparts were trading at 50.
Did you know that stock was going to tank? Did you know?
I didn't buy it. I certainly had a lot of questions because I didn't understand it. They were trading something called broadband. I didn't know what that was, and I don't know why the stock. I didn't know why. I didn't know what trading broadband
was. Well,
was.
here's the deal. Most people, they're not sophisticated enough, including me, to go to the website and figure out what the footnotes are. I don't know. I'm trusting certain people to give me financial advice. Obviously, those people who did that are not on my A-list right now. But you got guys in that company who made millions of dollars as this stock came down, okay? And I saw public announcements. These guys came out in public and said, our stock's fine, our company's great, there's no problem here. They ought to be arrested.
And probably ought to disgorge all of those profits of selling that stock.
Absolutely.
But as a small investor, you could go on Yahoo, put in the name Enron, and this is what you would have found in the summertime. This is the insider selling.
This is what you would have found.
1,000 shares of those
Look at this.
Executive
How many people have time to do this? See? I mean, a lot of people had Enron in their 401ks. Their advisors bought it for them. I mean, come on.
Well, if I had 100% of my net worth in Enron stock, I would have been looking to see if my bosses were selling.
Granted. But even when you have insider selling, the only way I know about to get it is from Barron's, and they listed like 4 or 5 weeks after it sold.
Yeah, but they started selling in 2000. They sold 6 million shares, these executives, in the year 2000. Only 2 million last year. So they got out right at the top.
So they got out right at the top. These guys inside, they started selling it, but they told the public and they told all the analysts there's nothing wrong with the stock. It's going to continue to do well. So they lied. So what should happen to them?
They should go to jail if they lied and if they committed fraud, which it perhaps looks like they did. It's not 100% sure.
No, let's have an investigation, right?
Fraud. Yeah, there's 8 federal investigations right now.
Well, there aren't really investigations. They're congressional hearings. John Ashcroft hasn't assigned the FBI, which you talked about earlier, to investigate the Enron guys.
No, he hasn't, and hopefully he will. But, you know, $4 trillion in market value has been lost in the stock market over the last year and a half. More money was lost in Cisco in 2001 than in Enron. Are we going to have a federal investigation into every one of these stocks?
If there's insider selling, if these CEOs are lying and they're selling and saying everything's great, yes, that's fraud in the inducement. That's against the law.
Well, it's going to keep a lot of people very busy.
Well, good.
The public pronouncements are wrong. You can't tout the stock while you're selling, but it's legal for them to sell their stock and disclose it.
And I think all of these, you know, spin meisters that go on your show and Cavuto's show and everything, you should give their home addresses when they give this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I've had a lot of negative analysts on who've said negative things. Some of them have gotten death threats. And Alan Greenspan, the first
You know what I'm talking about, though. A lot of these pinners don't know what they're talking about. Terry Keenan, thanks very much. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Iavana. Islamabad, Pakistan was the latest stop for the 9-member U.S. Senate delegation. The 5-country Central Asian tour today included a meeting with Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf. Steve Santani has the latest from Islamabad.
A delegation of 9 U.S. senators stopped off in Islamabad tonight,
calling for worldwide support to help rebuild Afghanistan and calling for a de-escalation of that crisis between India and Pakistan. The senators met with Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf, and during their meeting with the president, the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden was discussed. The president apparently told the senators he does not believe bin Laden has escaped into Pakistan. This is the latest stop on a five-nation Central Asian tour for the senators. While in Afghanistan, they stopped and met with Hamid Karzai, the new interim leader of that country. Meantime, the border tension continues between India and Pakistan. 2 guerrillas and an Indian soldier were reportedly killed in a raid on an Indian army camp. India today said it sees no change in Pakistan's policy on cross-border terrorism and is waiting for Pakistan to take concrete action. At this point, there is still no one-on-one meeting scheduled between the leaders of Pakistan and India. In Islamabad, Pakistan, Steve Santani, Fox News.
Next update at the top of the hour, but first, the O'Reilly Factor continues after the break, right here on Fox News Channel.
Are you getting your market information a little late? Daytech. Built to trade.
The couch. When you've got the flu, it's so far away. Get there with Advil Flu and Body Ache. It's got the strength of Advil, so nothing works harder on body aches, headaches, and fever. Plus a powerful decongestant. It makes having the flu a lot more comfortable. Fight the flu with Advil Flu and Body Ache.
Here's juicy news from Robitussin. We've added real, natural orange juice to a soothing vitamin C throat drop. New Sunny Orange Vitamin C Drops from Robitussin.
They both worked hard. Took care of business. Took care of their families. So why will one leave his loved ones with every advantage, while the other leaves everything to chance? Some people already know. Our financial representatives excel at a lot more than life insurance. Northwestern Mutual Financial Network. Are you there yet?
This holiday season, the compact Presario 5000 TPC will come bearing gifts, like a free color printer, a $50 instant rebate, and free shipping. Not to mention a powerful Intel Pentium 4 processor and Microsoft Windows XP Home Edition, all for just $849. And you don't even need to travel afar. Call 1-800-332-1780 to buy now. You'll get 1 great PC and 3 great gifts.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the second personal story segment tonight, Abused Women and the Courts. All over America, there's an epidemic of women being physically abused by their husbands and boyfriends. In the state of Kentucky, for example, more than 30,000 orders of protection are issued by judges each year. Those orders mean an alleged abuser cannot go near the complaining victim. But now a new twist. Kentucky Judge Megan Thornton has fined 2 women for going back to their abusive men while the order of protection was still in place. Joining us now from Cincinnati is Lisa Barron, counsel for the Kentucky Domestic Violence Association, and from Washington, Sandy Rios, the president of Concerned Women for America. Ms. Barron, you first. You think the judge's order was unfair, correct?
I certainly have concerns with it, yes.
What are those concerns?
Well, there are several, actually, Bill, and thank you for having us on the program to talk about this. I'm concerned from a legal perspective that a judge is holding someone criminally responsible or civilly responsible in terms of a fine for an order that had no terms, conditions, or restrictions on that person's actions. So I'm concerned from a legal perspective, but I'm also concerned in terms of future safety for other victims of domestic violence. I'm afraid that this type of action will have a chilling effect, that it will make victims feel like the court is not a resource for them as they try to attempt to leave their relationship.
All right. Now, I understand the second part of your concern more than I do the first. If a person goes in, and it could be a man, you know, there are men who are abused.
Oh, certainly.
And they take the court's time. And in Kentucky, 30,000, I mean, it's overwhelming. They take the court's time, and the court says, okay, we're going to issue an order of protection, and we're going to try to help you. And then the woman or the man goes back to the person they want to be protected from without going to the court. Just unilaterally, I'm going back there, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to be teed off if I'm a judge, Ms. Barron. I'm going to say you're abusing the system.
Well, I think I have a couple of responses. In this particular case, and many like them, there wasn't an opportunity to go back to the court to have the order amended because it was during the phase, the 2-week phase between the temporary order and the final order.
Okay, but give it a couple of weeks then. What are you running right back into a situation that you felt you needed the court's protection for?
Well, I think one of the problems is that we all sort of, those of us who aren't involved in those types of situations, look at leaving as an actual event that happens in one time. We can all look into someone's situation and think, oh, you idiot, you should be able to leave him and go on. And we don't see in the reality of domestic violence that leaving is actually a process. The studies now show us that it takes an average of 7 attempts to leave for a victim to be able to get the support and resources that are necessary in order to do that. Many of the victims, be they women or men, have children with the person they're involved with, are financially either completely dependent or financially tied to that person, and it becomes very difficult. If you had to just pick up and leave your whole life and walk out, it's a difficult process to do in one blow.
All right. Now, Ms. Rios, how do you see this situation?
Well, I guess, Bill, you and I are coming down in the same place on this. I don't understand. I think the reason why it's taking so long for these women to come to grips with their situation is because they are being enabled by people who feel the way Lisa does. The point of the matter is that the women have responsibility in the same way that the men do, and they have a responsibility to stay away. If the court has ordered that, and if they've gone to the court because they've been abused, the court is trying to protect them, they should cooperate. That's minimal. And in this case, the judge said 2 weeks before a rehearing. They couldn't even keep that order for 2 weeks. And so I support the judge's move on this. Those women need to be responsible.
All right, but what about the point that if a judge is going to find the 2 women, that this is going to send a message, look, we have to be compassionate here in the sense that women who are caught up in a cycle of violence a lot of times feel very powerless. They're frightened. There are a lot of things, as Ms. Barron pointed out, that we don't know about, all right? That a judge's order now, or a sentence of contempt is what she put down, may then send a message, I better not go for protection because I could get in trouble from the other side as well as the guy who's beating me up.
Then, Bill, why go to court? If you are not going to adhere to the judge's ruling, why bother taking the time of the court?
Because you're desperate at the time. You know how emotion rules.
Yes,
you're
but
desperate.
If we're talking about, I know, but we're talking about them being abused. If we're going to allow them then to override the judge's order and go back, they stand a greater chance of being abused. So it's really a protection for them. It's not an abuse of them.
Yeah, but that's a decision they have to make. What my problem is, Ms. Barron, is that you have chaos in the judicial system. If a woman comes in and says, hey, look, I need help, and the judge says, okay, I'm going to give you help, and then a woman doesn't even live up to the letter at all. I mean, she runs right back into it. I mean, how much chaos, you say 7, 8 times. I don't think the system can handle 7 or 8 times of somebody ponging back and forth from an abusive mate.
Well, I think, and I don't know statistically this, but I would imagine that coming to the court would be later along in the 7 or 8 times.
It depends.
It does depend, but I think it's also important to recognize, and we know from a recent report published by the National Institute of Justice and the Bureau of Justice Statistics, that the most dangerous time for a victim of domestic violence is when they leave the relationship. So as you pointed out, they may feel at one point, immediately, I've got to get out of this situation, this is an emergency, and then for many multiple reasons down the road, be it a week later, 2 weeks later, when the medicine that all the children have is back at the home, all the possessions are at the home, and I think the biggest point is that it's a misnomer to think that the court system isn't working, because what the lay victim, who is not a lawyer, not an attorney, comes to the court and says to the court, please help make the violence stop.
No, but the judges say, and this is what this judge said, I can't control my courtroom if both parties are not going to live up to the agreement that I've imposed. And I feel 30,000 in Kentucky. Go ahead, Ms. Rios.
Bill, could I ask a question of Lisa? It sounds to me like, Lisa, in all due respect, that sounds like a bogus argument to say that they would go home to get medicine or something like that. The man doesn't have to be there when they do that. That sounds like a smokescreen to me. I mean, this order is for her protection, to keep the man away from her so he doesn't hurt her. Surely to goodness, we can hold these women to the commitment to at least stay away for 2 weeks. If they can call the man and he can be fined because he's breaking the law that the judge made, then why can't they be held to the same responsibility, not to contact them?
Ms. Barron?
Well, I think we're forgetting the bottom line. The whole reason that this is in court, the whole reason that it's even an issue that society has to deal with is because of the illegal, abusive actions that the perpetrator has done to this victim. And to say that we're going to hold the victim accountable for his type of behavior or that she should respond.
Only if the victim defies the court. See, if the person punches the victim, the person can file charges about it. You see, I'm coming down on the side of Ms. Rios here because I feel, and this is for everybody's protection, if a guy hits you or a guy pushes you around, hey, you got to get out of there. You got to get out of there for a good amount of time and send a message that that is unacceptable. And running back in there hurts the court system, but it hurts you most of all. Ladies, thanks very much. We'll let the audience make up their own mind as always. Very complicated issue, and we appreciate your point of view very much.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, Muhammad Ali, is he a true hero or a media manufactured myth? In a moment.
David Lee Miller, Great Mouth Hat,
Amy Kellogg,
William Larson,
Keith Harrigan, Fox Internet.
He was a funny-looking little guy. It was like nothing I ever saw. With these big eyes.
Oh, well, I never saw anything like it.
You know what? This is stuff you only hear about.
He did communicate with me.
These days, the most amazing thing in the world is when a company and its people actually do what they promise. Amica Insurance. Auto, home, life, integrity. Rated #1 by consumers.
Were you able to understand him?
Yes.
The newest sporting event to come to the coast, the Crustacean Classics in Lincoln City. Place your bets and enjoy some of the finest seafood, wine, and artwork the Northwest has to offer. January 18, 19, and 20. The newest festival to hit the Oregon coast. The crab and oyster races at the factory stores at Lincoln City. Enjoy activities for the entire family. For times and race rates, call 1-800-452-2151 or visit our website. It's an event you won't want to miss.
Want to save some money and keep your home nice and warm all winter long? It's not hard to do if you call Housewarmers Oil Company, your first choice in premium heating oil at a discount price. Housewarmers offers all the benefits of full service without the huge price tag. Plus, you get the best oil you can buy at a discount. So rely on Housewarmers, rain or shine, ice or snow. You can't go wrong. Housewarmers Oil, your first choice in premium heating oil at a discount. Call today.
I'm Lace Hansen. If you've been in an accident, you know what a hassle it is. That's where we come in. With Lace, everything becomes very simple. From Salem to Longview, we make house calls. We'll give you an estimate, pick up your car, negotiate your claim, repair your vehicle back to pre-loss condition, and get it back to you, all without costing you extra. You've got my word on it.
Auto Collision Centers, the finest in collision repair.
In the back of the book segment tonight, the new movie Ali, starring Will Smith, getting a lot of publicity. While it is not exactly a Valentine to the former heavyweight champ, it is sympathetic to him. But that may be a mistake, says Mark Cram, the author of Ghosts of Manila, the fateful blood feud between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Mr. Cram joins us now from Washington. You know, I've always had mixed feelings about Muhammad Ali. I understand why he is a role model for blacks all over the world. I think he's a very courageous man, superb athlete. And I admired his skill. But I did not admire his alliance with the black Muslim movement, which I believe is a hateful, racist organization. How do you see him in totality?
Well, I see him as the greatest fighter who ever lived. Man of magnificent skills, but truly a dupe, a man who was manipulated from the beginning and even to now. So in terms of a hero, I can't see anyone being a hero who is totally manipulated.
Or who's manipulating him?
Well, in the beginning it was the black Muslims. Here was a guy who was, as Malcolm X called him, naive, impressionable country boy, and he was made for the Muslims. Ali grew up, and he had a lot of fear in him as a kid. And as he progressed in boxing and became a name, he still had that fear. Maybe it was a fear of whites, but certainly a fear of the world. So he wanted something larger than himself by which to surround him. And he was easy pickings for the Muslims, just like those in prison are really easy pickings. And so they latched onto him and then manipulated him throughout from the military draft on right through his career.
But isn't it true that when he refused to be inducted into the military during Vietnam, he said, look, my religion, Islam, whether you like the black Muslims or not, he's a Muslim. Right. And he said, you know, our Quran says we don't fight in a Christian war, which, you know, basically was true. It was, you know, the United States, Christian country, against the Vietnamese, who didn't have any alliance to. So I felt that if he had made a conscientious objector argument, he might have won that. And I didn't think any less of him for not going on religious beliefs. Are you telling me those religious beliefs were a sham?
Well, I believe that he believed, let's put it that way. But the point is that that was a position in which he was manipulated to by the Muslims.
But how do you know he didn't believe it? How do you know he didn't believe what the Muslims were telling him?
He believed every word from Elijah Muhammad. Muhammad.
He thought Elijah Muhammad was a messenger from Allah. So how can you hold Ali responsible for those decisions if it was a sincere religious belief?
Well, I imagine you could call it sincere, but in all my days with him, he broke every rule in the Quran, just about.
Yeah, but the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. You know that, Mr. Cram.
Yeah, well, I just don't see how somebody can be a hero. I mean, he was less than an independent spirit, and he was, you know.
Do you believe he was a hypocrite?
I think he has too simple of a nature to be a hypocrite.
So you just think he wasn't smart enough to grasp what was happening around him?
Yeah, I just think he was extremely malleable.
All right.
He could have gone either way.
He came across as very savvy in the way he promoted himself, which is interesting because I thought he was a brilliant self-promoter and obviously got himself to be the most famous athlete in the world. Now, you writing this book, you've taken a lot of heat. People attacked you personally for writing it, correct?
I've been slashed and burned around the world. Bill called a fascist, a racist, blackballed in England, deprived of the Top Book of the Year prize, which was monetary as well as prestigious, mainly because my whatever they think my politics are, which they really are none, but I didn't hew the party line.
Well, you weren't politically correct.
That's right, and politically correct is a spiritual residue of the civil rights movement. And being politically correct, you know, means that everybody has to think and speak the same way and have the same viewpoint. Well, that's a bit Marxist at its core and Orwellian, to say the least.
Did you know that you were going to take this kind of heat?
Well, I thought I'd take some heat, but not in the way that it's become so personal and, you know, threats at home, you know, and I had been under threats from the black Muslims way, way back, so, you know, a lot of times I just dismiss that as talk, but you get a call in the middle of the night, watch out, we know where you live, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right,
but I don't know if they, I mean, I don't think that was from the Muslims. I think that.
Yeah, you don't know who it is, but it's the price you pay in this society to go against the prevailing wisdom, particularly on a racial issue. And we appreciate it. I'm enjoying the book. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Next, we'll wrap things up with the most ridiculous item of the day and some of your mail.
Reading to the kids at the library is the highlight of Fred's week. But some days, his COPD keeps him from being there. Chronic bronchitis or emphysema associated with COPD can keep you from doing simple things.
But now, taking Ceravent,
Helps me take fuller breaths.
Nothing can reverse COPD, but taking Ceravent twice a day can help improve your lung function around the clock. One call is all it takes to find out more about managing your COPD. Call 1-800-704-4705 right now to get 10 tips for taking fuller breaths and a $10 rebate. Ceravent should not replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms or be taken more than twice a day. Some people may experience increased blood pressure, heart rate, or changes in heart rhythm. Ceravent is a prescription medicine and may not be right for everyone. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure, or take NAOIs or tricyclic antidepressants. Ask your doctor if Ceravent is right for you.
And start taking fuller breaths.
Call now for your free tips and rebate offer.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I
I
am
American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I'm Edie Donahue. Tomorrow on Fox and Friends, we've trounced the Taliban, but the mission continues. Where does America go from here? Is Iraq next? Oliver North joins us 6 a.m.
Tonight,
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World.
when you want to get up on Wall Street, get down to business with Neil Cavuto.
What does it mean for the economy?
Why bet your bottom dollar when you can cash in with his common sense approach? Your World with Neil Cavuto.
We have got you covered.
The best business report on television, period.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. When we last left Ridiculous Land, CNN was promoting Paula Zahn by saying she is sexy. Well, all sexism broke loose, and CNN has now pulled that spot after Paula herself said she was offended. The advertisement, you might say, was a one-night stand. My question is why? Being sexy is not a bad thing. I'll take that all day long. You see, a person can be sexy and intelligent and a good journalist all at the same time. We news people take ourselves way too seriously, and that's ridiculous. And finally tonight, the mail. About the federal government giving tax money to the 9/11 families. Gloria Allen, Reynoldsburg, Ohio. The American people gave generously to the 9/11 charities, and now we are giving again with our tax dollars, yet some of the families are still complaining. The intent of my donation was to get them through the next few years, not to make them millionaires. Edna Hartkoff, Montgomery, Alabama. Bill, if those jackasses in Washington really want to help the families, why don't they force the charities to release the donated money? Randy Herbrischmeyer, Wichita, Kansas. When I gave to the 9/11 families, I didn't plan to give more to the wealthy than the working people. The payout should be equal for all families. Denise Tamaz, Ardmore, Oklahoma. The families affected by the Oklahoma bombing got no big payouts. Maybe somebody in Washington could explain why. Mary Mager, Round Rock, Texas. Come on, Bill. I'm all for giving the families the charity money and insurance payments, but to use taxpayer money is un-American. About exclusionary bias at the National Public Radio Organization. Lisa Bushy, Fairfax, Virginia. Mr. O'Reilly, what an asinine and outrageous attack on NPR. Your attack was personal because they won't invite you on the air. You owe NPR an apology. Austin Hamilton, Halstead, Kansas. Mr. O'Reilly, I was very turned off by your plugging yourself in the NPR discussion. You should have used another author to demonstrate their exclusionary bias at NPR. Well, I respectfully disagree, Mr. Hamilton. Why would I go to a third party when my PR people confronted NPR and were told to get stuffed? This is a no-spin program, and I tell you the truth. Something happens to me, I have the perfect right to tell you about it. Reverend Ray Joseph, Sterling Heights, Michigan. Bill, I am profoundly grateful to you for taking on the spinners at NPR. Their bias is outrageous. Chuck Alexander, Orange, California. Bill, I don't think you get it. NPR has always been a national propaganda outlet for the left at taxpayer expense. Of course I understand that, Chuck. That's why we did the segment. Ted McCaffrey, Natick, Massachusetts. Your premise about NPR made you look like a whiny little boy, Bill. Chris Daisy, Portland, Oregon. Mr. O'Reilly, the fact that NPR has excluded you simply shows their good taste. Ed Somberg, Chicago. O'Reilly, you ought to be ashamed the way you talk to the former NPR executives. Somehow I'm not ashamed, Ed, but I'll think about it. And Zach Parker, McDonough, Georgia. O'Reilly, you were dead on target about the exclusionary bias in NPR. You should be teed off. I'm teed off because these people are taking taxpayer money and then mocking freedom of speech. It's not about me. I'm just a primary source here. It's about the outrageous conduct of NPR in the American landscape. Yeah. Now, how about that website landscape? All right. Are you cold out there? It's January. Get the O'Reilly Factor Varsity Jacket. It's a warm deal. I'm telling you. People are telling me that it's the best investment they made. If you have one of those Christmas presents that don't quite make it, you bring it back, see, get the cash, right to the website for the Factor gear. All right? It's a good jacket, I think. I gave a couple for presents, you know, and people just, it's good. And how about emailing us with some busy comments? O'Reilly at foxnews.com, O'Reilly at foxnews.com. Name and town, name and town, name and town, if you wish to opine. Letters are really very fun to read, these letters, and I really appreciate you writing in. That's it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. I'm Bill O'Reilly. See you again next time.